Today we will be embroidering an embossed 3D puff design using the following supplies, which are in the description. This is the end result, so follow along and we'll show you how we did it. So for this, we're doing embossed 3D embroidery, and it really is kind of backwards from what you think you would do with normal 3D embroidery with the puff foam. And the reason is, I actually tried this, didn't write down the notes, and did it backwards first. So we're actually going to be embroidering right on the backing. We have this SheerStitch Fusible. The great thing about this product is it is just like your SheerStitch, so it's got kind of that real low profile, nice and thin backing, a little bit of embossed on there. But with the Fusible, it's a heat activated, and you can always tell a heat activated stabilizer by those shiny dots that are on the back. So if we capture that in that camera, you're going to see how they reflect. And pre-cut a piece. This is a 12-inch by 10 yards, so I'm a little bit shy on my width, or height I should say, on this one. But I'm going to show you how it's actually going to work fine, because this is going to act as our backing finisher when we're all said and done. We also have a soft tearaway, so a RipStitch soft. That's going to go on the very top. So the soft tear is going to go on the top. The SheerStitch Fusible is going to go on the bottom, and you want those adhesive little spots to be facing up, so the shiny side up. Put your soft tear on the very top, and then we're going to hoop it. I know it seems weird. This is the way it works. I'm going to flip it over, make sure that SheerStitch is nice and taut as well, and it is. Then we're going to use our 505 spray. I'm going to pull away from the machine just a little here, because we don't want that floating up by the needles. I already cut the 3mm 3D foam, the gray, because I'm putting it on gray. You could almost use any color for this practice here. We're just going to lay that down flat inside there, just like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim the corners a little bit so she'll lay nice and flat. This guy's actually a little wide, so we're going to take a little bit off the edge as well. And I want her to lay nice and flat. One more off him. A little more. And one last corner. Here she is nice and flat. So we are doing this design that is a little over 7 inches tall and 9 inches wide. So we've definitely got enough room there. We are going to trace it. Don't worry about the sweatshirt just yet. We're going to place that on when we're ready. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a really thin satin stitch in order to outline the journey and the race. Life is at the top, and the nada is going to be in regular satin stitch after the fact. And we're going to raise up, or emboss, I should say, the journey and the word race. There we go. Center that a little bit. So at this point, it's important to know, because of the way we're going to put the sweatshirt on, the design needs to be flipped upside down. So when we add the sweatshirt, we can use the wide base around the hoops. So make sure that your design is flipped upside down, just like when you're doing caps, or if you hoop something upside down and you don't want to rehoop it. So I went in and did that already. I'm going to do a quick trace to make sure that we are on the 3D foam. I'm just going to go. She's going to do the outline of one letter, and then she's going to do really small satin stitches so that the 3D foam will pop up. Okay, so now with those satin stitches, she's going to pop right off. I'm going to use the 3D Puff Pro in a minute. It's going to be a couple of inside areas. So if you feel it like resisting a little bit, you can take the blade part of this, and I call it a blade, but it's super dull. But it does help release those stitches if you need to. Look at that. So we've got some inside letters that we're going to get out, and I'm also going to use that blade for this. If you were doing 3D foam on the outside, the little point here is for like pushing in the 3D foams if it's hanging out, but the blade is awesome for getting underneath those. So it's kind of like weeding with your transfers. I can get to those real easy. A tiny one for the A and inside of the R here. So there we go. Got all the insides of the letters. You want to make sure you do that, because once we hoop this, those stitches are going to go all the way around the edge, and it's going to give a nice embossed look. I have a sweatshirt here. We're going to do it on the back of the sweatshirt so people can see it if they're standing in line, and you can communicate with customers that way. So again, I'm going to take it away from the machine. And that's that 505 spray adhesive. And this is, you might get to this point and say, number one, why is it upside down? Number two, how am I going to hoop this on that and get the arms outside? We've got a nice wide sweatshirt here. Might be a little challenging on a smaller one, but you'd probably be using a smaller hoop anyways. So what I'm going to do, this is the back of my sweatshirt, and I'm going to try and get it up, kind of up in the upper edge of those. So you're going to put the hoop right inside there. Don't worry, we'll be able to get these arms onto that hoop, no problem. It's just different, very different, which makes you question, what we're doing. So the hoop is all the way inside like it normally would be. We're just not going to hoop the garment. So that's a little different. But we got that spray adhesive. It's going to hold it nicely in place. I can start feeling for where my journey is here. It's way down there. I want to get her up higher than that. And now I'm looking to square it up. I'm just going to do that by eye. So I've still got it there. I think I'm going to move her up just a little more. In the front of the neck, the hoop is hanging out, but that's okay. It comes time, hopefully we can shorten this. Just making sure my backing is nice and flat. Now I'm looking for the squareness of my hoop. I want the same distance from here to here. So I'll push that down just a little. And make sure you're not pressing down just yet until you got it where you want it. It's sticky. Doesn't want to move. Let's see. It's good temporary spray adhesive. This guy's going to come back up. And how am I side to side? So I use my hands. My hands are kind of big, so I'm looking at this space here. Looks like about 2 inches, and I've got a little extra over there. I'm not going to worry about that. I think that's centered pretty good. So now I'm going to press her on nice and flat. Make sure that adhesive holds on to there. When I did the digitizing for this design, I did do it from the center out for Journey and Race. I did it just so that it would kind of push your fabric to the side as you're embroidering, and hopefully you won't get any buckles or things. So now I got to get to the inside here. It's a little tricky, but it can be done. We're going to get the top on the top, the bottom fabric on the bottom, but we also need to a little different. We're going to put those arms inside the garment. Normally we can see them. There we go. It's a little bit of finagling. And then you got to feel for your arms. I'm actually going to expose them so I can see them. There we go. At least that one started. I feel up here for this one. No, I'm going to peek at that one too. This is definitely a little challenging. Get it where it needs to go. There we go. Put these all up underneath your needles. Get her in there flat. Now I'm going to go up here and make sure everything's nice and flat. I'm pulling my backing out. I'm making sure none of the front of the garment got put up there. So we're using the CR Metallic for the outlines on the front. So it is just a gray heather sweatshirt, but a little bit of bling goes a long way when it comes to the outlines on this. So I did choose a nice shiny silver for that. Backside looks like. It would be funny if I put that in, but I didn't. So here we are. Just going to remove as much of this as we can. Want to get right real nice and close to those letters. Don't have to worry about anything underneath. Just want to get the outside edges of the design free and clear so we can adhere the sheer stitch on there. And full circle. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we have excess sheer stitch here. Remember we put that shiny side down, so we don't necessarily want a square glob back there. I'm going to see if I can get this little guy out here. She's a little lumpy. There we go. If you have any lumps of backing in there, you want to get rid of those because those are probably going to show. So now I'm just going to go around the design around 1 to 2 inches. And then we're going to use the iron to adhere it on permanently. So here we go. No, I'm going to use my big screws for this. Here we go. I'm going to go on this side so you can see. 1 to 2 inches is generally enough. Give it some material to adhere to. Do try to round the corners. Round corners tend to hold on a little better than square corners when you go to put it in your dryer after you've washed it. It's less of a point to lift. So I take and I put little round corners everywhere. And that's that. You can take this to your ironing board, or you can bring your ironing board to you. I have this small kind of padded cotton quilting material that I use as an ironing board. So I'm just gonna iron the top first. Kind of go from the middle out like that. You want to kind of hold it. We will put those heating instructions and the timing for you. Check in the details below, or we can add them as copy. The idea is to start adhering this to the optimum adhesion. And you can see she's already nice and stuck on there. So that's the top. I'm just going to slide my padded board down below and get the bottom. Nice heat press will work really well on that. Let's turn her right side out and see how she looks. I love how the CR and the flat letters kind of stand out a little bit more. And the big letters that are the embossed, they really, you know, pop out at you. So they're both kind of doing their job as a full phrase there. Life is a journey, not a race. Don't forget that.
All Stitch, all the supplies, all the savings, every day.